Hi, my name's Adam Graydon, and my presentation is going to be on the Hartman personality profile, otherwise known as the People Code. The personality profile is the theory, and the People Code is the book that talks about the theory. And it's a personality theory, one that I find a lot of truth and relevance to today. Now, my visual aid I thought was going to be a lot bigger when it showed up on the screen, but it's not so much. So I'll bring it up close and just go over it real quick. And this will all make sense. So I have 4 colors. The first color is red, second color is blue, third color is yellow, fourth color is white. And for each color I have a word. For red I have power, for blue I have intimacy/connection, for yellow I have fun, and for white I have peace. Now I have words for each color, descriptive words. For red I have task-oriented and insensitive. One's a positive word, one's a negative word. For blue I have caring, but very sensitive. For yellow I have charismatic/insecure, irresponsible. And for white I have clarity/indecisive. And then the last word for each section is a person. For red it's Steve Jobs, for blue it's Oprah, for yellow it's Jim Carrey, and for white it's Gandhi. I'll reintroduce this visual aid at the end of the video so that it all makes sense. So what am I talking about? Well, why do people act the way they act? Why do you act the way you act? What motivates you? Why do certain people rub you the wrong way, and why are you attracted to certain types of people? And how can you better communicate with others knowing who they are, who you are, and how this can be applied to your daily life? The People Code can help you understand yourself, other people, and how you interact socially based on what people are motivated by. So what is the People Code? Well, in one thought, it's what motivates people, like I've said a few times already. Red, the personality type red, is motivated by power. Blue, the personality type blue, is motivated by intimacy, or I would say connection. White, or the personality type white, is motivated by peace. And lastly, yellow is motivated by fun. Now, I understand that it may be somewhat difficult to understand why a single word or 2 words can be used to describe what motivates one type of personality. But again, hang with me, it'll all make sense. So what I'm going to do is give the color code test. I'm going to go through it really quick, so if you want to grab a pen and paper to find out what you are, I'm going to do it as I go along as well, just to keep updated on my ever-changing and our ever-changing personalities. I failed to grab a pen. Hold on one second. Okay. Sorry about that. So I'm going to ask a series of rapid-fire questions, and you're going to need to press pause after every question to reflect on it and to write down your answer. So keep your pause button at the ready. Let me just find where it's located really quick. Let's see. And here we go. All right, question number 1. You're going to want to number your paper. 1, I'm going to read 4 character traits, A, B, C, and D. And I need you to pick the one that most applies to you. Most applies to you. It may feel like sometimes none of them apply to you. It may feel at times that all of them apply to you. But just go with your gut and be honest with yourself about which one most applies to you. Okay, here we go. Number 1, A, opinionated. B, nurturing. C, inventive, and D, outgoing. So again, you're going to mark A, B, C, or D down on your paper. Just put A, B, C, or D for which one it is. I'll use this first one as an example about how to go about this, and then we'll move on. Again, A, opinionated, B, nurturing, C, inventive, D, outgoing. All right, here we go. We're going to speed things up. 2, A, power-oriented, B, perfectionistic, C, indecisive, D, self-centered. 3, A, dominant, B, sympathetic, C, tolerant, and D, enthusiastic. 4, A, self-serving, B, suspicious, C, unsure, not of the question, just unsure in general, and D, naive. 5, A, decisive, B, loyal, C, contented, and D, playful. 6, A, arrogant, B, worry-prone, C, silently stubborn, or D, flighty. Flighty, like just carefree and just go with the flow kind of attitude. 7, A, assertive, B, reliable, C, kind, D, sociable. 8, A, bossy, B, self-critical, C, reluctant, D, a teaser. 9, A, action-oriented, B, analytical, C, easygoing, or D, carefree. 10, A, critical of others, B, overly sensitive, C, shy, D, obnoxious. Now, before you pause, or if you pause already, some of these questions are going to be really easy to answer, and some of them are not going to be so easy to answer. It's not fun to recognize our shortcomings on the questions that are somewhat negative in their personality traits. Just be brave. All right, going on. 11, A, determined, B, detail conscious, C, a good listener, or D, a party person. 12, A, demanding, B, unforgiving, C, unmotivated, or D, vain. 13, A, responsible, B, idealistic, C, considerate, D, happy. For the sake of you not having to pause every single time, I think I'll read the questions twice, but I'm going to read them quickly. 14, A, impatient, B, moody, C, passive, D, impulsive. A, impatient, B, moody, C, passive, D, impulsive. 15, A, strong-willed, B, respectful, C, patient, D, fun-loving. A, strong-willed, B, respectful, C, patient, D, fun-loving. 16, A, argumentative, B, unrealistic, C, directionless, or D, an interrupter. A, argumentative, B, unrealistic, C, directionless, D, an interrupter. 17, A, independent, B, dependable, C, even-tempered, or D, trusting. A, independent, B, dependable, C, even-tempered, and D, trusting. 18, A, aggressive, B, frequently depressed, C, ambivalent. What does ambivalent mean? I think it means when you're, well, let's ask Siri. Siri, what does ambivalent mean?
Stuck between two things? Having mixed feelings or contradictory ideas about something or someone.
Okay. I'm just going to do, I don't mean to make people be like, yo, you don't think I know what that means? But,
I'm not sure I understand.
I'm not talking to you. But I'll just define the ones it's still hearing me.
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay. I'm just gonna define the ones that I get questions about the most often, because I've given this test hundreds of times. Moving on. I think we were on 17. I apologize if we already read this one. A, independent, B, dependable. We haven't. We did. We did 17 and 18. 19. A, powerful. B, deliberate. C, gentle. D, optimistic. A, powerful. B, deliberate. C, gentle. D, optimistic. 20. A, insensitive. B, judgmental. C, boring. D, undisciplined. A, insensitive. B, judgmental. C, boring. D, undisciplined. 21. A, logical. B, emotional. C, agreeable. D, popular. A, logical. B, emotional. C, agreeable. D, popular. 22. Always right. What I mean by that is you think that you're always right, not you actually are always right. B, guilt prone. C, unenthusiastic. D, uncommitted. A, always right. B, guilt prone. C, unenthusiastic. D, uncommitted. 23. A, pragmatic. Pragmatic means dealing with facts and seeing things more of being in a black and white sense rather than a lot of gray area. Just practical. Very practical, very, the opposite of abstract, I guess. So A, pragmatic. B, well-behaved. C, accepting. And D, spontaneous. A, pragmatic. B, well-behaved. C, accepting. D, spontaneous. 24. A, merciless. B, thoughtful. C, uninvolved. D, a show-off. A, merciless. B, thoughtful. C, uninvolved. D, a show-off. 25. A, task-oriented. B, sincere. C, diplomatic. Diplomatic means a person in between parties that can solve disputes. But I'm scared to ask Siri because she'll keep asking questions. But let's ask her anyway.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
What does diplomatic mean?
Of or concerning the profession, activity, or skill of managing international relations. Do you want to hear the remaining one?
Yeah.
Of an edition or copy, exactly reproducing an original version.
Didn't read the one that said having or showing an ability to deal with people in a sensitive and effective way. That's what I was going for. D, lively. A, task-oriented. B, sincere. C, diplomatic. And D, lively. 26. A, tactless. Tactless means you lack tact. What is tact? Tact is the manner of which to be tactless would be to be the deliverer of bad news, like a loved one had died recently, and to say, hey, your dad's dead. Someone with tact would say, I'm sorry to inform you, but your father has passed. So having tact is, I guess, manners through speech. So A, tactless. B, hard to please. C, lazy. D, loud. Another way to say tactless was they just kind of, you would, or anybody would just tell it like it is. A, tactless. B, hard to please. C, lazy. D, loud. 27. A, direct. B, creative. C, adaptable. D, a performer. A, direct. B, creative. C, adaptable. D, a performer. 28. A, calculating. B, self-righteous. What does self-righteous mean? You're convinced of your own ideals to a point where you're not really willing to listen. C, self-deprecating. What does that mean? To deprecate yourself is to beat yourself up and get down on yourself and tell yourself how much of little worth you are. And D, disorganized. Again, these are not all fun. A, calculating. B, self-righteous. C, self-deprecating. Or D, disorganized. 29. A, confident. B, disciplined. C, pleasant. D, charismatic. A, confident. B, disciplined. C, pleasant. D, charismatic. 30. A, intimidating. B, careful. C, unproductive. Or D, afraid to face facts. A, intimidating, B, careful, C, unproductive, D, afraid to face facts. All right, now, real quick. If on your paper you total up all your A's, your B's, your C's, and your D's, so write down how many A's you got, how many B's you got, how many C's you got, and how many D's you got. Real quick. So go pause here, I guess. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the second section. These are going to provide examples or situations. I think there's about 15 questions left, so we're almost done. 31. If I applied for a job, a prospective employer would most likely hire me because I am A, driven, direct, and delegating. B, deliberate, accurate, and reliable. C, patient, adaptable, and tactful. Or D, fun-loving, spirited, and casual. Try and keep up because I'm not going to read these ones twice. 32. When involved in an intimate relationship, if I feel threatened by my partner, I A, fight back with facts and anger. B, cry, feel hurt, and plan revenge. C, become quiet, withdrawn, and often hold anger until I blow up over some minor issue later. Or D, distance myself and avoid further conflict. 33. For me, life is most meaningful when it A, is task-oriented and productive. B, is filled with people and purpose. C, is free of pressure and stress. Or D, allows me to be playful, lighthearted, and optimistic. 34. As a child, I was A, stubborn, bright, and or aggressive. B, well-behaved, caring, and or depressed. C, easygoing, quiet, and or shy. D, too talkative, happy, and or playful. As an adult, I am A, opinionated, determined, and or bossy. B, responsible, honest, and or unforgiving. C, accepting, contented, and or unmotivated. D, charismatic, positive, and or obnoxious. 36. As a parent, if you're not a parent, just imagine if you were one, or how you would like to be a parent. Parenting style. A, I'm A, demanding, quick-tempered, and or uncompromising. B, concerned, sensitive, and or critical. C, permissive, easily persuaded, and or often overwhelmed. And D, playful, casual, and or irresponsible. I'm going to say for that one, if you are not a parent, just refer to the totals that you tallied up already and apply to that one of the totals of which you had the most of. So whichever letter you had the most of, if you're not a parent, just insert the letter for that one. Okay? 37. In an argument with a friend, I am most likely to be A, verbally stubborn about facts. B, concerned about others' feelings and principles. C, silently stubborn, uncomfortable, and or confused. D, loud, uncomfortable, and or compromising. 38. If my friend was in trouble, I would be A, protective, resourceful, and recommending solutions. B, concerned, empathetic, and loyal, regardless of the problem. C, supportive, patient, and a good listener. Or D, non-judgmental, optimistic, and downplaying the seriousness of the situation. 39. When making decisions, like what to choose on a personality test, I am A, assertive, articulate, and logical. B, deliberate, precise, and cautious. C, indecisive, timid, and reluctant. D, impulsive, uncommitted, and inconsistent. 40. This is a toughie. When I fail, I feel A, silently self-critical, yet verbally stubborn and defensive. B, guilty, self-critical, and vulnerable to depression. I dwell on it. C, unsettled and fearful, but I keep it to myself. D, embarrassed and nervous, seeking to escape the situation. 41. If someone crosses me, I am A. Angered and cunningly planned ways to get even quickly. B. I feel deeply hurt and find it almost impossible to forgive completely. Generally, getting even is not enough. C. I am silently hurt and plan to get even and or completely avoid the other person. Or D. I want to avoid confrontation, consider the situation not important enough to bother with and or seek other friends. Bother with, comma, and or seek other friends. 42. Work is A. A most productive way to spend one's time. B. A healthy activity which should be done right if it's to be done at all. Work should be done before one plays. C. A positive activity as long as it is something I enjoy and don't feel pressured to accomplish. Or D. A necessary evil, much less inviting than play. 43. In social situations, I am most often, this is a toughie, A. Feared by others. B. Admired by others. C. Protected by others. Or D. Envied by others. Probably want to pause for this one and go back and contemplate. Unless you're a certain personality type, then in which case you've already answered. 44. In a relationship, I am most concerned with being A. Approved of and a right. B. Understood, appreciated, and intimate. C. Respected, tolerant, and peaceful. D. Praised, having fun, and feeling free. 45. To feel alive and positive, I seek A. Adventure, leadership, and lots of action. B. Security, creativity, and purpose. C. Acceptance and safety. Or D. Excitement, playful productivity, and the company of others. All right. So now you're going to add up your A's, B's, C's, and D's again. So go ahead and do that really quick, and then pause. Or pause and then do it. Okay. Now you're going to add your totals from 1 through 30 and 31 through 45. So all questions to which you answered A, to which you answered B, to which you answered C, and to which you answered D. So go ahead and do that. Okay. All right. So what the heck just happened? I'll tell you. A is representative of the color red, motivated by power. B is representative of the color blue, intimacy and connection. C is representative of the color white. What did I write? Yeah, clarity and whatever. Yellow is the color of fun, motivated by fun. Okay, I just refer to my outline notes. Bear with. So, having provided those colors, you've already identified which one you have the most of, and whichever one you have the most of, that's your core color. Just to give a basic quick introduction, if you're red, then you are task-oriented, you do well in positions of power or leadership, you like a challenge, you delegate really well, you're organized, you're productive, you're a mover and shaker. Some negative qualities would be you might be tactless, you might be kind of rude, you might be bossy, because reds usually are bosses, and you can be arrogant. Two examples, well, I'll provide some examples in a minute. Blues are motivated by intimacy and connection. What does that mean? They're the do-gooders and connectors. They're the most complex color. Some traits of blue would be artistic, detail-oriented, sensitive, positively and negatively. Um, I said attention to detail. Abstract, creative. Some negative qualities would be controlling, overly sensitive. Um, let's not delve too much in the negative right now, right? Whites are motivated by peace. What are some traits of whites? Whites are even-tempered, patient, good listeners, tolerant. They can be, again, well, I'll say that in a minute. They can be lazy, unmotivated, directionless, or boring. And yellows are motivated by fun. What are some traits of yellows? Happy, optimistic, party people, and charismatic. What are some negatives? They're irresponsible. It can be irresponsible. Lack of follow through on commitment. Self-centered, things like that. Okay, so reds. Here's some quotes to go along with the color red. A red might say or think along the terms of lead, follow, or get out of the way. Reds are referred to as the lifeblood of society. Without reds, society would come to a screeching halt. There would be nobody willing to get things done, nobody willing to take positions of power and implement or passing down, delegating. Another example of red would be, or a quote, "I'm sorry that we argued. I hate when you're wrong." Reds are always right. If you're asking a red if they're always right, they'll take it to mean that they are in fact always right. And if you're asking a friend of a red or somebody that knows red, would you consider that person to be always right? They would say, yeah, they always feel like they're right. Where the line is drawn, I will not comment on. Yeah. Reds are your CEOs, your movers and shakers, leaders, powerful politicians. Again, they're driven by power. So any position, you'll find them in positions of power a lot of the time. Why Reds do well in positions of power? A few reasons. Their ability to not get emotionally involved in things allows them the ability to be pragmatic, like I said. And you can refer back to the questions, and like I said, A is red, B is blue, C is white, and D is yellow. They're able to be pragmatic and calculating and making decisions and making them quick, and then delegating that information down to somebody that needs to pass it along through the company or the government or whatever structured organization they belong in. They are quick to decide, they trust their own judgment, but they can be kind of bossy. One example of a red would be my stepfather. And I'll say this right now. Growing up in my household, my stepdad was a red, my mom was a white, my sister was a blue, and I was a yellow. So we had every color in the house. My stepdad was a red. When he was about 7 years old, he decided he wanted to be a doctor after seeing somebody get in a car accident. And in the course of a person's life, I believe the statistic is in the teens as far as the number of times somebody wants to change their profession or makes a decision to change their profession. I mean, people entering college change their majors all the time. It's rare for a person to decide once and for all from the age of 7 that they want to be a doctor, which is what happened to my stepdad. And that's exactly what he did. Because he was goal oriented, because he was task oriented, because he was able to see so far ahead as to what needed to be done that he was focused on that, and he accomplished each task leading up to that he needed to accomplish the ultimate goal, which was to become a doctor. And he did, even though it took years of college and years of medical school and years of pre-training and years of not having gone to school yet and getting good grades so that he could get into a good school, things like that. I once had a girlfriend in high school who was a red. She was on the debate team. She had a 4.0 average. She was very task oriented. She was known amongst others to be seen never ever walking to class but running to class, because she would never want a single tardy mark on her report card. She did all these things because she wanted to have a good reputation and resume so she could get into a good college, so that she could get into a good profession. She didn't want a 4.0 because she wanted to gain knowledge. She didn't want a 4.0 so that she could say that she had a 4.0 so she could be accomplished. And all those other things because she wanted to one day fulfill a position of power the best way that she could. If you are a red, here's a piece of advice. Don't stop doing. Keep being task oriented, keep moving and shaking, keep with balance, but keep being productive, because that's where reds thrive. And a second piece of advice would be, with great power comes great responsibility. Red is the most powerful color, but it has the potential for the most downfall. Steve Jobs was a red. So was Adolf Hitler. They both got a lot done. One in great ways, one in awful and terrible ways, but both reds. Some other examples of red would be Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Steve Jobs, and yeah. Blues, the do-gooders and connectors. Blue is the most complex color. Blue is the hardest color to nail, but blue has the potential to be either the greatest kind of person you'll either meet or the most destructive kind of person you'll ever meet. Some quotes for blues would be, "Life cannot bestow anyone a more gratifying reward than the sincere appreciation and trust of a blue friend, coworker, or family member." Also, blues tend to be honest to a fault. Some examples of people that would be blue: Mother Teresa, Oprah, Matt Damon. Everything that revolved around the Oprah Winfrey Show. I mean, not that I've seen it a lot, but when I have, is that she's always so concerned with doing good, with helping people, with everything that has given Oprah Winfrey the reputation that she has. Going back to my family, my sister is a blue. And I remember watching videotapes of us kids growing up as young kids, and she came up to the camera lens and just touched the camera lens, and she can't even speak yet. My father goes, "Don't touch the camera lens, honey," and her countenance just drops, and she starts crying, turns around, and runs the other direction. Very, very sensitive, even from a young age. According to the color code or people code personality theory, Your color is most in its most pure form when you're a child. Um, and growing up, me and my sister didn't get along too much, but she never forgot every single time that I was not nice to her. Being a yellow myself, I was pretty forgetful and am forgetful to this day, so I have a hard time remembering the things that she does. But another phrase that go along with blue is they forgive, but they never forget, because they tie emotional context and emotional understanding to memory. Their memories of things are things that they involved a lot of emotion. Blues are very emotional. If you are a blue, some advice: find your soulmate. Blues are driven by intimacy. Blues cannot go with that. Blues would rather have a small group of close friends than a large knit group of acquaintances. Find your soulmate. And secondly, find your divine calling in life, or find your calling in life for which you think you are best suited for. Because that's where you're going to find the most fulfillment. Also, blues do the best adapting to any career field. Whites, the peacekeepers. White is the most simple color. It's motivated by peace. Some phrases that go along with whites. Whites offer us all a model for gentle human dignity. Who are some people that are white? Yoda is a white. Johnny Depp. If you find that interesting, go watch any Johnny Depp interview on David Letterman and just his composure and simplicity. Lance Armstrong. I'll get to this in a minute, but I would guess his secondary color is red because of how driven he was to compete. Back to my family, my mom was the white, and me and my mom had a really close relationship growing up, and she was always concerned about having peace of mind, being comfortable, whites love to be in their own space. They love to have their own space. They don't like conflict. They avoid conflict at all costs. Not at all costs, but they avoid conflict. They have a natural ability to be confronted with chaos and to see through all the, pardon my French, bullshit and find the simplicity of the fact. I remember one time I was explaining to a friend a complex problem I was having, and I probably monologued for a good 10 to 15 minutes. And the whole time, him being a good listener, which whites are great listeners, he just sat there and just looked at me and just listened for 15 minutes. And then I got done talking, and I just looked at him. I was like, "What do you think I should do?" And he paused for a moment, and he just said, "I think you kind of just need to stare your problem in the face and face it." And it was a light bulb moment. And he was absolutely right. I was making it so overly complicated, but hearing everything that I had to say, he could see through all of it and just find the simplicity in it. A simple and concise answer. So those are whites. My mom and I, not to be too personal, but me being a yellow and she being a white and her being very concerned for my welfare growing up, we conflicted a lot because I wanted to have fun, go out with my friends, and I had a very strict LDS upbringing. And when I was younger, I wasn't too adherent to the standards of the LDS church. And so she was worried because I would hang out with the wrong types of friends or where I would be. She had no peace of mind as far as what I was doing. So we were in constant conflict of, "Mom, can I go out? Well, where are you going? Who are you going to be with? and I just wanted to be free and tetherless and yellow, and I'd start to get upset, and I'd be like, Mom, why don't you trust me? Just let me go. Just let me go. I just want to have fun. I just want to be with my friends. And we ran into a lot of times where we'd have to sit down and talk things out, and she would have to explain why she needed peace of mind. She didn't like my red stepfather would love to plan activities and be doing things, doing. And she didn't like that because she didn't like to feel rushed. Reds don't like to feel rushed. They like to do things at their own pace because they're patient and they're, slow and steady wins the race would apply to whites. Yeah. For whites, some advice I would offer: learn how to address confrontation. There's a term called whiting out, where if a white feels confronted or dealing with something they don't want to deal with, they'll just bail and just run away or walk away or seclude themselves. But sometimes confrontation is needed, and sometimes it's necessary to resolve issues. And if you're a white, it would be conducive to learn how to hone your skill to be simple and diplomatic and not get frustrated easily, and bring that to the table when discussing something. But at any given point, the confrontation becomes contentious, then walk away. And lastly, relax, but don't be lazy. Keep it simple, relax, do your thing, whatever it takes to be happy, but don't be lazy. And the last color, yellow. Me. I'm a yellow. I've ebbed and flowed through how yellow I am in life, but that's my core color. Some quotes for yellows. Yellow people love themselves because they know exactly what they love to do and always find the time and resources to do it. Also, yellows go with the flow as long as it keeps flowing and is flashy. Some examples of yellows would be Will Ferrell, Jim Carrey, Ellen DeGeneres, me. A lot of people in the entertainment industry would be yellows. Most comedians are yellow. Because they love the spotlight, literally. In the examples for yellow, in groups, they are considered, people can be jealous of yellows. Yellows can be vain, was one of the answers for D. They can be loud and obnoxious and interrupters. There's a common association that yellows have ADHD. That hasn't been proven. I don't think that's the case. But I'm a yellow and I have ADHD, so who knows? Let's see. Some traits for yellow. They are fun lovers. They're optimistic. They're charismatic. They're happy. Happiest of all the colors, or tend to be so. They bring vivaciousness and life to social situations. They're friendly. I may be going on a little bit too much because I like the color yellow, but some shortcomings. Being yellow, I don't want to talk about the shortcomings because yellows are afraid to face facts. But there you go. Yellows are afraid to face facts. They can be irresponsible. They are uncommitted. A yellow will most likely be the person to make plans and then bail or forget they made plans or show up late. If you are a yellow, find the balance between work and play. In school right now, I'm a bit older than most of the young adults entering school. Because of my yellow, it took me a while to figure out responsibility and how to get down to business. But I'm learning how to learn again. And some assignments are, I find, so monotonous and not fun, but that I have to do. So I set up a reward system where for every so often, every assignment or every time period or so often that passes, I have to reward myself with something fun, something to look forward to, whether it's listening to music or whatever. Um, so find the balance between work and play if you're yellow. If you refer back to some of the questions in the color code, um, it asks work is considered, you know, and reds find it productive and the best way to spend one's time. Blues find it good if it's meaningful and purposeful and connects to them. Whites find it good if it's something in which they don't feel pressured or stressed about. And yellow, they don't find it good. They find it a necessary evil, much less inviting to play. um, some advice for yellows: surround yourself with people you care about and spread optimism. Yellows are the life of the party. Yellows can get people to laugh and have fun and relax and sometimes bring out other people's colors. So that's a little bit on the colors. Now, in your tallies, you have a color or a letter that came up second for the most amount. I took the color code test a while ago. I was going to take it, but I forgot. Um, and my secondary color was blue. So I had mostly D, which is yellow. And then the number that came in second, was B, blue. People can say and have said to me before, how can you just put somebody's personality into four colors, into four categories? People are so much more complex than that. And that's a valid point. I think that secondary colors come a lot into it. I'm terrible at math, but I think that would provide 16 possibles. Kind of like the Myers-Briggs test, which has 16 personality types. So I'm just going to briefly go over not the primary and the secondary, but the two combined just for time's sake. Red blues or blue reds, best people in the career field because they're driven and they have a sense of purpose and caring for what they're doing. Red yellows, the best leaders, or yellow reds, because they are charismatic and likable, but at the same time, they're organized and productive. So when they delegate, people are more willing to listen to them because they're a likable person and they're in the position to delegate in the first place. Red white or white red. This is the most rare color combination because it's motive of power and motive of peace. And in today's world, those two don't normally go hand in hand. And something that I've noticed about red whites or white reds is they are either total rock stars and have the ability to handle anything that comes their way, or they're deeply conflicted and are prone to random outbursts of internal struggle. I was talking to a girl that I worked with who was a red. I think she's a red white. So let's say she's a red white. And she told me that she wanted to go into dealing with trauma in the medical field. That's perfect because dealing with trauma, that could mean being in the ER where somebody comes in and their femur is broken and they're screaming in pain. A red would be facing facts and productive and organized and getting, medicine administrated and so on and so forth. And a white by itself would be calm and, well, maybe not so calm because they'd be under pressure. But that's the beauty of it. If they were, they have clarity and they would um, be kind and so on and so forth. So those two combined create for the perfect combination for that kind of job. So moving on. Blue, yellow, or yellow, blue. These are people. Blues connect with people on a deep, intimate level, and yellows connect with people on a fun, more surface level, less deep. But if you're blue, yellow, or yellow, blue, um, party and connect is what I would suggest. Connect with people, but also party. Blue, white, white, blue. This is, in my opinion, the most pleasant color combination of people to be around, because blues are do-gooders and whites are kind. So that color combination, it's really, if they're have more positive traits than negative, they're really easy people to be around. And then lastly, white, yellow, yellow, white. White and yellow are considered simple colors, and blue and red are considered complex colors. So for a yellow white, I would say find a blue red or a red blue and create something unique. Because all four of those colors combined, if you have the drive and the authenticity of a blue, and you have the fun lovingness and desire for peace of a white, and combine that, it's a game changer. So that's a brief overview of the people code. I may have Freudian slipped there and called it the color code a lot, because when I was introduced to it, I was in the 7th grade and I took the test and I got almost all D's. Because in school I was getting all D's and couldn't keep up with my assignments and was forgetful and irresponsible. But no D's on the test because I was yellow. And it immediately clicked. It made so much sense to me. And ever since then, I have, for those who may be thinking, again, you can't categorize people based on 4 colors. Fair. So I put this to the test. I thought, if I can provide statistical analysis or data that would support the evidence of the people code being a valid or legitimate theory, how would I do that? Well, understanding the people code, I would ask people that I've known for a brief period of time to take the test. And before they took the test, I would either think about or write down what color I thought that they were going to be. The last 5 people that I've asked to take the test and beforehand either said to them or thought what color they were, all 5 times I've been right. Now, that's not a testament to how smart I am or whatever. It's a testament to the legitimacy of what can be recognized in a person's personality pertaining to this theory. It was my boss at work who was a red. It was my coworker at work who was also a red. It was my other coworker at work who was a white. Who was the 4th person? It was, did I say 4 or 5? Well, the 4th person I remember, it was my next door neighbor, and I guess he was a white. So, what is the best color? Well, Is there a best color? No. But if there was, what would it be? According to color spectrum analysis and science, what color do you get when you combine all the colors? It's not black, it's white. In the visible color spectrum, all colors combined, or when light is emitted, white light is emitted, all colors are contained within the light, which is white. People who are charactered, when you're charactered, it means that you not only have more positive than negative traits of your own color, but you've adopted positive traits from other colors. And people who are charactered most often come off as whites. For what reason, I'm not entirely sure. Now, whether you're religious or not, just bear with me, okay? Jesus. It's an indisputable fact that he was actually a person. And let's consider biblically what he's referred to as he was considered perfect. Whether you believe that or not, or whether you believe that personally or not, just go along with the provided example. So if you take a person who is perfect, then that means they have absolutely zero of the negative traits of which I mentioned in the test, and they contain all of the positive traits, every single one. So they have all the positive traits of red, blue, yellow, and white, and they have zero negative traits of red, blue, yellow, and white. Jesus was referred to as the Prince of Peace. What are whites motivated by? Peace. And my last example, if everybody in the world were same color, if everybody in the world was a red, what would happen? And this is just my take on it. I think that we would last about a week before it was World War III, because everybody would be trying to obtain positions of power and going at war with each other. If everybody in the world were blue, I think we'd last a month, maybe a year. No, we'd last a few years, but it wouldn't be long before everybody became so emotionally involved, and the negative blues would probably be the downfall of society. It's hard to say with blues because they're so complex. If everybody in the world were yellow, I think we'd last about a month before we completely exhausted the world's resources just partying all the time. Because that's all we'd want to do. No one would take responsibility and get done what needs to be done. It'd just be a constant party until we ran out of money and resources. If everybody in the world were white, we'd have world peace. So that's my take on it, and providing examples for the color code. People code. It's called the people code now. I keep forgetting that. It was written by Dr. Taylor Hartman, PhD. If you're more interested, you can buy the book, The People Code, anywhere. So, lastly, I'll include this, how to communicate with other colors. If you're dealing with reds, first of all, don't take anything too seriously. Whatever they say, don't take it personally, because they're not trying to be attacking or personal. Also, be brief and be pragmatic and practical. If you're dealing with blues, speak emotionally. Speak in terms where they can understand, which are emotion, and be sincere and genuine, because they'll notice if you're not. When dealing with whites, keep it simple. Don't be loud and invasive and run up to them and start bombarding them with questions or anything like that. Be very gentle in your approach and don't make them feel pressured when they're speaking to you to answer questions or respond. When dealing with yellows, get them to talk. get them to ask them questions, get them to, because then they are more than willing to take over the conversation and um, use their colorful language to be social. So 1 hour mark right there. That's my presentation. My name is Adam Graydon, and that is on the Taylor Hartman personality profile in the book, The People Code. Thanks.